Good day to our beloved learners in grade 9. You are now listening on James Radio 104.7, broadcasting for special program in the arts, Dance 9. Looking forward for your active participation in our discussion today. Just sit back, relax, and listen carefully. Don't forget to have this week's learning activity sheets, notebook, and pen with you. I am teacher Edessa Lu Cañada on the radio. Make sure that you are now in your most comfortable place and could clearly hear me. Always keep your mind alive and alert. Listen attentively so you can understand well our activity for today. Take note with your questions so that you may ask that from your subject teacher. Are you ready? That's great. At this point, I want you to get your copy of learning activity sheets for Quarter 4, Week 3 about dance documentation. Today, our lesson focuses on examining dance documentaries and classifying the types of dance research documentaries. Are you ready for today's lesson? All right, let's start. I want you to remember and understand the following things. Documentary research serve as both a complement to and extension of biographical inquiry, becomes synonymous with archival research, and addresses issues related to the role and use of documents and public and private records. Produces artifacts and material culture through artistic representation, moving and still imagery and sound recordings. Theoretical perspectives of documentary research. With the use of primary and secondary materials, the researcher must assess and analyze the documents themselves before extracting content through appraising documents with the following criteria: authenticity, credibility, representativeness, and meaning. Authenticity addresses whether the materials are genuine or of questionable origin, and whether their production is original and reliable and has not been subsequently altered. If the document has been transformed through textual editing, marginalia, or other means, the researcher seeks to clearly identify those alterations. Furthermore, authenticity is typically viewed as the most fundamental criterion for all documentary research in education, since the confirmation of authorship, place, and date are typically determined before any researcher continues working with the document. Once determined that the document is genuine and of unquestionable origin, the material becomes valid as an artifact, although its content may still be questionable or subsequently found to be incorrect. Documentary forms as aesthetic interpretation. Documentary research couples dissonant paradigms of managing and ascertaining documentary evidence, as conceived in the traditional social sciences, with creating and formulating aesthetic presentations as conceived from the arts and humanities. Mode of documentaries. Number 1, expository mode, is associated with the classic documentary and based on illustrating an argument using images. Is rhetorical rather than aesthetic mode. Aim directly at the viewer, using text, titles, or phrases to guide the image and to emphasize the idea of objectivity and logical argument. Second, observational mode. Allowed the director to record reality without becoming involved in what people were doing when they were not explicitly looking into the camera. Enabled a different approach to the subject matter, and the directors prioritize a spontaneous and direct observation of reality. Third, participatory mode presents the relationship between the filmmaker and the film subject, makes the director's perspective clear by involving them in the discourse. The director becomes an investigator and enters unknown territory, participates in the lives of others, and gains direct and in-depth experience and reflection from the film. Reflective mode raises the audience's awareness of the means of representation itself and the devices that have given it authority. The film is not considered a window on the world, but is instead considered a construct of representations of it. Fifth, poetic mode aims to create a specific mood and tone rather than to provide the viewer with information. Its origin is linked to the emergence of artistic avant-gardes in cinema. Uses many of the devices typical of others' arts. Lastly, performance mode focuses interest on expressiveness, poetry, and rhetoric, rather than on the desire of realistic representation. The emphasis is shifted to the evocative qualities of the text, rather than its representational capacity. Note, documentary is purposive. It is intended to achieve something in addition to entertain audience and making money. At this moment, I want you to refer to your activity in your Dance 9 Learning Activity Sheets, Quarter 4, Week 3. There are links being provided. Using your mobile phones, research the links and examine the following dance documentaries on it. Be sure to have an internet connection. Write at least 10 topics for your dance research documentary. Lastly, using the description, abstract, and summary of each documentary, classify the types of dance research documentaries listed in your learning activity sheets. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Please be reminded with the following. Fill in the blanks or provide the necessary information like your name, section, subject, and date. Do not forget also to write the lesson in your answer sheets. Always pass your learning activity sheets on time. That ends our session for today. If you have questions and clarifications, you can write it down at the back of your sheets so that your teacher can address it by next meeting, or please contact her directly at her Facebook account, Edessa Cañada. Once again, this is your dancer teacher, Edessa Lu Cañada, saying, aim high, soar high, keep calm and dream high. James L. Chombian National Trade School, Special Program in the Arts.